Ever since I started drawing, I've been using reference images that I find online, either through Pinterest or through Google. And it's not just me. Most of the artists that I follow online on Instagram, if not all of them, use pictures that they find online as reference photos. And sometimes as I'm browsing through Pinterest, I actually stumble upon a photo that I can recognize as being the reference for a certain picture or illustration. And other times it has also happened that I see two different artists coming up with very similar designs and illustrations because they're using the same exact reference pictures. And I also know of certain illustrators that are massive, that have created a big following online and have actually built entire careers from mostly just doing photo studies from pictures that they find online. And there is nothing inherently wrong with that. But I do think that there is value in looking for inspiration and motivation outside of the search engines, outside of Pinterest and Instagram. So there are actually a few issues that I see when we're using mostly just digital sources for our inspiration. The first one is the notion of degrees of separation between us, the artist, and the subject matter. Because first you have the subject matter, and then you have a photographer that is kind of deciding what is interesting and what is pretty and what should actually be captured. And then you have the search engines that are kind of cataloging and filtering the photographs to show you, so that there could be images out there that are amazing but we're not actually seeing, and there could be a lot of different subject matters that never even get the chance to be seen. So what we end up with is an abundance of whatever is that sells well or whatever it is that goes viral. So you have so much art that is portraying just pretty girls. And I actually saw this impact in my own personal art. I started working more on art and trying to improve my illustrations back in 2019. And at that time, most of my art was very fashion illustration heavy. So you would see a lot of models, a lot of pretty girls, because that is what I was aware of and that is what was shown to me. And it actually took me years to be exposed to other subject matters, to other styles, to other approaches, and actually learn about more character design and visual development, and understand that there is a lot of goodness that comes from exploring things that other people are not necessarily paying attention to. And as I said, there is absolutely nothing wrong with using digital sources such as Google and Pinterest. I do it all the time, but I do think that there's a lot of value in looking around outside the world around us to find inspiration, which is why I'm actually sitting in this hammock for this video. And this is actually what I want to do in today's video. I want to go outside and I want to look for inspiration and do some sketches outdoors and talk to you about this kind of creative exploration outside. So let's get to it. So originally the plan for this artist date was to go to the beach, but it's supposed to be 63 degrees at the beach, whereas here is closer to 80. So we're just gonna stay close to a little tiny artificial lake and hang out and sketch and read. And that's about it. Makes me smile this way. You don't know how much you mean to me. You don't know just how you set me free. I didn't ask for information. So at the park, I actually made a few sketches and I'm gonna show you these. And this is basically how it works for me. I create thumbnails, a lot of terrible lines, impossible to read, and some notes. And what I'm focusing on is kind of the energy or the mood or the pose and the aesthetic that I'm going for rather than working on actual sketches that I can literally like scan and work from. And this is something that took me a long time to kind of accept about myself, because I do see so many people that are very organized, many artists that will go outside and put on their easels or take a bunch of materials and create like beautiful illustrations and sketches. And for me, that never felt right. I don't know how to do that. I don't feel comfortable doing that. I'm trying to grab the essence of my subject matters within a few moments, and a lot of times I'm just kind of saving this for later on, since I tend to work mostly digitally. And that's the thing about kind of like challenging yourself to go outdoors and drawing. Like, there's so much going on that you need to really filter and think about, oh, this could be interesting to illustrate, or this could be, Jeffy, oh my god, dude, you're peeing literally where I'm sitting. Excuse me. As you're outside, you can look around and notice things. There might be a bird, there might be a rock, there might be a tree, or some sort of composition that you find interesting, or so many people around that you can just kind of imagine different life stories. And sometimes when I'm just like walking my dog, I'm just gonna take notes, like mental notes of things that I see around that would be interesting to add in to my drawings. Or I would just take pictures. I took a bunch of pictures of flowers back in May when everything was blooming, and it's just such a great way to have like a mental library, or like a visual library that you build yourself, rather than letting Instagram or Pinterest or Google or random photographers on the internet try to like dictate how your art can be for you. So this is more of like a personal approach that I hope to challenge you to think about. So there's no right way, there's no wrong way, there's just whatever works for you. And it doesn't mean that for every drawing you have to go outside. It just means that there is a world outside of the internet that could be perhaps interesting to explore. And I didn't fully explain why this whole video came about, but basically I had seen this scene on a beach like back in April, and I wanted to draw that kind of scene of a man taking pictures of a woman. And I realized that the compositions that came to my mind were really informed by pictures that I saw online. Like, they were not new, they were not interesting, they were not genuine. Like, I was being heavily influenced by pictures that I had already seen, and I didn't even realize until like later when I was actually trying to clean up the sketch, and I was like, oh my god, there's like 1,000 pictures of a person holding a phone with the subject matter in focus on a phone. It's like, this is not the original idea I thought I had. So that's when it came to my mind, and I'm like, okay, maybe I need to go outside and actually practice a little bit at looking at the world versus absorbing and translating whatever it is that I see online. Yeah, this is my challenge to you as an artist, to actually go out, look around, try to find a couple or more things that would be interesting to explore. It might be just as a sketch or a full illustration or just as a photo study. Whatever it is, just give the real world a chance and see what happens.